Coming up next, from San Fran Freak Show, the Savage Nation, from Talk 910 KNEW.
Armstrong and Getty.
They're not bullies with a microphone.
Weekday morning, 6 to 10. Talk 910 KNEW.
Warning. The Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
Now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
I was going to pick another rock and roll song today, but it was every day another one goes through my head. Keep it playing. Let me see. Forget it. Turn it off. All right, Robert Novak dead. Now, I didn't know Robert Novak. I hope he went to the place where we all hope to go and not to the other place where liberals go. But he's getting a lot of play. We can't say anything bad about the dead unless they lived in San Francisco and... You know, all right, so it brings up your mortality. What are they going to say about you when you die and this and that? And lo and behold, my cardiologist sent me my lab results. I'm supposed to see him tomorrow. Then I don't have any cardiac trouble, but I go once a year because I got upside-down lipids. You say, what, are you crazy talking about your blood lipids on the air? Yes, because I'm going to lead to a medical point that may be of some value to some of you out there who are a little concerned about your cholesterol, for example. And so many Americans are being sold on Lipitor and Lipitor-like drugs who may not need them. And I want to talk about that for a minute because there are other things that you might be able to do that are not drug-related. But the society is drugged to death, whether they're on antidepressants when they don't need them or they're on anti-cholesterol medications when they may not need them. The country is drugged to death. And what's interesting is it ties right into the healthcare debate because you'll notice that the drug companies are all in favor of Obamacare. Now, why would the drug companies be in favor of Obamacare? Because it will give unlimited prescription drugs to everybody in America, and they'll make trillions of dollars. You understand how this works? You understand how this all works together? Follow the money. So let's go back to the fact that, oh, yeah, drugs are lifesavers, don't get me wrong. But they should be used as a last resort, not on a recreational basis, as is being done in this country. Many of the American people today are practicing recreational medicine. Everybody in this country thinks something's wrong with them and gets a prescription for it. Now, in some cases, I said RXs can save your life, but in most cases, they're useless or dangerous, okay? Now, having laid the groundwork for that, I want to go back again to what I'm talking about. For years, I've struggled with upside-down VAP profiles, my LDL high, my HDL low, my overall cholesterol through the ceiling, triglycerides high. Whatever you look at, it's upside down. So if a normal person got this, they would run and say, I'd do anything because I think I'm going to die. But it's been like this for 20 years. But I'm not dead. And thus far, I haven't had a heart attack. So it doesn't make sense. Unless you get an even more refined test, which I got. Now, remember, I come from a family of early death by coronary heart disease. I don't want to give you the ages and turn it into a joke. But I've been running scared about a heart attack since I'm 30, maybe 20, which is what drove me into the jungles of the South Seas, collecting plants, drove me to get a PhD in epidemiology and nutrition, drove me to research and write books on health before I went into radio. I'll never forget, when I entered radio in 1994, I said, this is probably going to kill me younger than I normally would go, but it'll be worth it. And, you know, every day is a miracle to me, but I'm still here 15 years later, and the stress level's as high as it could be. You have to say, well, how the hell does a guy live like this with this kind of stress? People have said to me, I blow off steam on the air, so therefore I'm alive. All right, that's one way to look at it. It's probably folklorically true. But let me go back to blood chemistry per se. You all know about cholesterol, and you're supposed to keep it low. Well, that's not 100% valid because there are societies where there's very high total cholesterol in the blood and the people don't get heart attacks. And so then the people started looking at LDL and HDL, the good and bad cholesterol that you know about. So let's look at the bad cholesterol, LDL, low-density lipoproteins. Why is it so-called the bad cholesterol, LDL, low-density lipoproteins? Because they're small particles that are thought to penetrate arterial walls and begin to cause plaque formation. Now, why would nature have designed the production of LDL to begin with? Why would a human being produce low-density lipoprotein? In other words, there was a reason that nature had bodies produce this substance. Certainly there are dietary factors, but there's a natural phenomenon that goes on as well. And that is, as a person gets older, their arteries become damaged. In other words, the vascular wall becomes weak, and micro fissures or cracks begin to develop in the endothelial vascular wall. And what the body does in an attempt to patch up these fissures in the wall is the body produces cholesterol, right? And it produces a relative cholesterol called LPA, lipoprotein A. Now, the problem is both cholesterol and LPA are very sticky, and it makes them perfect for the job. It's like a glue, right? And you've been taught, get rid of that glue because you don't want that glue to clog up your arteries, and it makes sense to do that. But you have to understand something. The body may overproduce cholesterol and overproduce LPA in its patching, and the patching ability will then aggregate and form a plaque that leads to vascular occlusion or hardening of the arteries, okay? So here's the thing. You may have high cholesterol, but you may also have LPA, which is high, and LPA is sticky, cholesterol is sticky, and so they adhere to the arterial wall, and you want to watch out because you'll clog your arteries. But what if you have high cholesterol and low LPA? Lipoprotein A. It's a major independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Follow me for a minute. Follow what I'm saying to you. When you have your blood cholesterol tested, you all get LDL, HDL, VLDL, you get triglycerides. Most of you know about these values. But have you been tested for LPA, cholesterol, lipoprotein A? Remember what I said to you. Lipoprotein A is manufactured in the liver, and it carries cholesterol into the arteries, which may have cracks in them. But if you have too high in LPA, it carries the LDL, the low-density lipoproteins, right through the arterial wall and causes the plaque that you don't want. But what can you do if you have high LPA? The answer is very, very little. There are no drugs or medicines to effectively lower your LPA. So what do you do if you have a low LPA? You thank God for your genetics. My cholesterol levels are completely screwed up. Very high LDL, very low HDL. Very high total cholesterol. But you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. My latest lab report came back 2 hours ago, and I have a 0.0 LPA cholesterol, which is almost statistically or medically impossible. In fact, my cardiologist is calling the lab to make sure that there's been no mistake. The ideal here is to have a very low LPA, mine is 0. It's the only reason I'm still living. In other words, this is a genetically inherited component. You can't modify it very easily. The only things you can do to lower your LPA, which is what you want to do, is take saturated levels of vitamin C, lysine, and proline, because they are building blocks of collagen. But I don't want to get into great details about that. Just understand that you should circulate great amounts of vitamin C in your blood, as well as 800 IUs of vitamin E. Don't listen to what any quack tells you. Vitamin C is very important for your health in many, many different ways. Forget what the quacks tell you that it doesn't work or it's dangerous. They're liars. They want to push you into the drug field. Now, let me go back to what I'm saying to you. By all statistics, with my cholesterol, LDL, and HDL, I should have had a heart attack by now. I'm sorry to talk like this, but I'm talking to you like the way I think about it. Cholesterol is it's 0. If I had an LPA, by and large over the LPA, other than taking lots of vitamin C. But it's genetic. So I must have inherited from my mother her LPA levels. She died at 88. My dad, may rest in peace, died at 57. I'm hoping that my LPA is was inherited from my mother, but I definitely got it from someone. Now, the reason I'm telling you all of this is that it's all tied into Obamacare. The reason it's tied into Obamacare, I will try to lead you to that right now. The reason you are not tested for LPA, which is a major independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease, is because currently there is no medicine or drugs to effectively lower your LPA. Moreover, what if your doctor said your cholesterol levels are screwed up, take Lipitor, but then he said, but you have very low LPA and you don't need and you don't need Lipitor? It would cut into the drug industry's profits, wouldn't it? What if you found out you had very low LPA, as I do? You probably wouldn't need Lipitor-like compounds. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not expecting anyone to call on this. In fact, I expect everyone hung up by now because they want to hear me talk about liberals and conservatives, or I don't want to do a DNC, RNC, but I won't do it. This is what I'm interested in right now. And I will get to the news maybe later. Maybe I should go back to what I was originally going to do today, which is this. I was on my bicycle today, and I called my producer, and I said, here's what I'm going to do. The Arabs have a saying,